Hello, fifth graders. So today we're going to be continuing our dividing fractions unit. So on Friday, we were talking about how to divide a whole number by a fraction. So this first problem is an example of what we were doing on Friday. So it says Bailey has 4 brownies and wants to split each brownie into thirds. How many total pieces can she split the brownies into? So remember, a little sentence comes up into our head when we're thinking 4 brownies, how many thirds? We're thinking, how many thirds are in 4 wholes? And in this case, 4 brownies. So we have the 4 wholes. And how many sections do we split each whole into? We split it into thirds. So I have these lines here again. You can drag those lines over to split those into sections. So we have this into thirds, into thirds, into thirds, into thirds. So how many thirds are in 4 wholes? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So in 4 brownies, there are 12 thirds. And that is our answer. 4 divided by a third equals 12. All right, so that was all about dividing whole numbers. So starting with that whole number and dividing it into fractional parts, okay, and seeing how many tiny little fractional parts there are. Now today we are going to be talking about dividing fractions, or we talked about these on Friday, unit fractions, okay, by whole numbers. And remember, a unit fraction, do you remember what a unit fraction is? A unit fraction is when the numerator of the fraction is a 1. So 1/3, 1/4, 1/5, 1/6, etc. Okay, so let's look at this problem. It says Tommy has 1/3 of a brownie left. So this is totally different than Bailey's situation. She had 4 whole brownies. Tommy only has 1/3 of a brownie left. Out of that 1/3, he shares the brownie among 4 people. How much of the brownie does each person get? So what I have here is my model. And I have it split into thirds because 1/3 of the brownie is left. So this section is 1/3. Okay, that's how much Tommy has left. And then out of that 1/3, he splits it among 4 people. Okay, so this is very similar to how we modeled when we were multiplying a fraction by a fraction, okay? Because we represented 1/3 this way, so that means that we want to represent 4. We're going to split it into fourths horizontally. So we're going to drag 3 of these lines over, so we have fourths, okay? And that's showing that we're splitting it into fourths. Okay, but it's a little different because this is all we had, 1/3. And 1/3 is being divided into 4 equal sections. So the question is, out of this, if each person is getting one of these, what fraction is one of these out of the entire brownie? Well, each person, so let's say if this was my piece, it's 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So each person gets 1/12 of a brownie. Now, hopefully those are giant brownies, so that 1/12 is bigger. But if we're talking about bite-sized brownies, each person really is not going to get a lot of a brownie. All right, so that's how we model dividing a unit fraction by a whole number. We're going to do some more examples of that. So let's look at this one. It says Sue has half a gallon of milk to share evenly among 4 people. So how much milk in gallons should she give each person? So again, we set up our division problem with what we are dividing. What are we sharing? So look at this problem. What are we sharing? We are sharing half a gallon of milk. So we start the division problem with half. And then we're dividing that half gallon of milk evenly among how many people? Among 4 people. So we need to figure out what is half divided by 4. So right here in this model, I have a whole split into halves to represent this half. And then horizontally, now what you're going to need to do in order to draw those lines, you can just copy and paste these lines over here onto this one. And you might have to just shorten it a little bit, okay? But you'll copy and paste those lines to this, and we're going to split it into fourths. Okay, so this is the half. Each person is getting one of this. Okay, so it's 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1/8. So each person is going to get 1/8 of a gallon. Okay, and it makes sense because Sue only had half a gallon to start with. And if you're starting with half a gallon and you're splitting that half gallon into 4 equal parts, you know that what each person is going to get is going to be even smaller than what you started with. Okay? And you may be seeing a little pattern, and we're going to be talking about that pattern as well. Okay, so let's look at the next one. Vin, Corey, Alexa, and Joe equally shared 1/4 of a submarine sandwich. What fraction of the original sandwich did each friend get? So again, what are we sharing? What are we starting with? We're starting with 1/4. So 1/4. And how many sections are we dividing that fourth into? Well, it's 4 friends. 1, 2, 3, 4. So divided by 4. So we know that each friend is going to get less than a fourth because you're splitting a fourth into additional pieces. So we know each friend's going to get less. So in my model, I have it already split into fourths to represent the 1/4 of the sandwich they have. Okay, and then horizontally, okay, I'm going to split it into an additional fourth to figure out how many total sections there are and how many each friend is going to get. So copy and paste those lines from above. You can draw another 4. All right. And each friend is going to get 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So each friend of the sub is going to get 1/16 of the original sub. Okay. So what patterns do you notice when we take the unit fraction and we divide it by a whole number? What do you notice about what we get as our answer, our quotient? All right. Well, what I notice is that when we have a unit fraction, when the numerator is 1 and we divide it by a whole number, our fraction is obviously going to be less. So the 1 stays on the top, and then the denominator and the whole number become the denominator. Okay, so that's just a little pattern that I see, and we're going to talk about more about that pattern tomorrow. Okay, so let's look at some examples. Now, what I want you to do, now you can't model it virtually, but I want you to take a scrap piece of paper and just do a quick little model for me so that you can kind of see how it works. So for 1/6 divided by 2, okay, I'm going to first split it into 6, so 5 lines, all right? And I'm doing 1/6, I represented that, and I'm dividing it by 2, so I'm going to split it horizontally in half. Okay, so 1 out of how many? If I count them all, it's 1 out of 12. So 1/6 divided by 2 is 1/12. The next one is 1/5, so I'm going to show a fifth. Okay, and we're dividing that fifth into 4 equal sections. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And one of those sections out of the original fifth is 1/20. So 1/5 divided by 4 is 1/20. Okay. The next one, I have my whole. How many sections am I going to break up the whole into? I'm going to break it up into fourths, okay, to represent 1/4. And then that 1/4 is being divided by 3. So 3 equal sections horizontally. So one of those sections out of the original fourth from the original whole is 1 out of 12. And lastly, how many sections do I break it up looking at my fraction? I break it up into 3 sections to represent 1/3. Okay, and then I'm breaking the 1/3 into 7 wholes. Okay, so I'm breaking that 1/3 into 7 equal parts. So how many lines horizontally do I have to draw? 7. Well, 6 actually. 7 equal sections. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if we're dividing into 7, 1 out of 21 out of the original whole. So 1/3 divided by 7 is 1/21. All right. So what I want you guys to do, I want you to do a little practice with this. Okay. And what we are going to do is you are going to complete a Google slide very similar to this. Okay. Now, what we're going to have tomorrow is we are going to have a short little quiz along with our lesson. All right, so if you have any questions, just complete that Google slide. Email me if you have any questions, and we will be having a Google Meet tomorrow at 8:30. So please attend that Google Meet tomorrow at 8:30, and I will see you then. All right, have a wonderful day. Bye, guys.